Well, very interesting words. I kind of felt that wasn't working for me, so I decided to try here and see if it will work, in case the gallery have a hangover of Christmas Day yesterday. So who knows? If this doesn't work next time out, I might just well just go back
I think Chamberlain is calling this time for a career change of sorts.
You mean trying my hands on different things? Don't forget, the humorist yesterday tried, he had his own instrument. He started out different things, and he ended up vocals. It was good. But, you know, it was nice to hear that the people, they play a huge role in any society, in any democracy. It's always very important in the scheme of things. Yeah. How do they fare at the end of the day? Because whatever policies we put in place is to ensure that the people get it right.
Absolutely.
And the people themselves too have they have huge responsibility in the country to ensure that the country as well does as well as they want. After all, people say the leaders always come from the people. So how do we fix all of this and do better than we are? So, Markwe, I'm handing over to you from here.
I thought you were going to be singing right behind that mic. It looks like you were about to sing, Chamberlain.
It's a decoy, actually. A decoy.
However,
just watch this space. Let's get it right first. After we get it right, then we can relax and sing. How about that? Go ahead.
I sure know one thing. There is no way you guys are going to be having all the fun in the Lagos studios. We are going to ensure that it spreads right here to the Abuja studios as well. But before we get to all the singing and dancing, I can't wait to be a part of that. Let's talk about getting it right. Yeah, let's talk about that. It's a wonderful thing that Christmas usually comes towards the end of the year. So and there's a holiday. It's always a time to also reflect. That's what the season should really be about. You should have time to ponder on how your year has been, what has happened, how have you fared as an individual, in your family, in your community, as a family unit. It's a wonderful time to reflect. And even as a country, we should ask ourselves, how have we done? Are we on the right trajectory? Are we giving our people hope? Yeah, it's all well and good during Christmas to say, you know, spread good cheer, it's a season of good tidings and what have you. But some people, it's just for that moment. They really wonder if, you know, they wonder if the good tidings really get to the heart, or whether this is all just, you know, the theatrics of the season. I think that, you know, that's one of the things we're going to be doing on this program, to talk about how we can ensure that the good tidings from this season, you know, gets into 2020. Where are we? What path are we on? When we talk about Nigeria, do people still feel hope for this country? And if they do, what are they doing with the hope? Are they spreading it around? Well, I have somebody who is certainly spreading hope around this morning, and I'm going to be asking him why he doesn't think he's spreading false hopes around when you look at the number of Nigerians who are also leaving the country in droves. I have the privilege of hosting on our program this morning an author and social commentator, Mr. Chris Uwani. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning, Mobe.
Good morning. Well, please kindly remind me of the name of your book again.
A New Nigeria is Possible.
A New Nigeria is Possible. And that is an interesting title.
Yeah.
It should come from a place where it seems you're making a statement.
Yes.
A very definitive statement to people who think that all hope is lost.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because, you know, a lot of things has happened to us as a people. To a large extent, you may not blame so many people who don't believe in Nigeria. You know, but the truth about it is that a nation we do not believe in, we cannot love. A nation we do not love, we cannot serve. So if we keep on with what we have come to see, because we're speaking what we're seeing, and that has been an issue with us as a people. We've thought that Nigeria can never change. And because we do not have what it takes to change it, so we feel that all hope is lost. You know, but for every nation, you know, just like you mentioned, a lot of people have been migrating, leaving Nigeria to other places. There's no nation in the whole world that became what they are from people doing nothing. Every nation had its difficult times before they emerged into a great nation, and someone did it. if they had left their country the way we are living and the way we are disbelieving in what is, disbelieving that things will work in our country, nobody will do anything. And today, where will they go to? So, but what I'm saying is that now that, just like you said, we've been on this for over the years, talking about Nigeria, having a feeling about Nigeria and things that are not okay, I believe that it is time we look back at what we can do for our nation. Because if we truly begin to do something different today, then tomorrow we become the change we hope to see.
Well, you had that faith and you wrote this book in 2008, even though you've upgraded it or you've reviewed it for a third time now.
Yes.
How has that journey been for you, spreading that message? I don't know who the primary target of your message is, whether you're talking to the leaders, because some people go into leadership saying it's just a meal ticket. It's time for me to get my own share of the national cake.
Yeah.
Or whether you're talking to, I don't know, young people or the followers who are losing hope, or, some people are losing hope, and lots of people are losing hope. I don't know who your message has resonated the most with. You can tell us that. But how has your journey been since you wrote that book in 2008?
Well, it's been a wonderful journey in the sense that everywhere you go, Nigerians seem to believe that, yes, they want to see a new Nigeria. They believe that one day something could happen.
People believe?
They believe. The only fear they have is who will take the initiative.
If you say they pray, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they pray. Before you pray, whenever you pray, it's because you believe it's going to work. So they do a whole lot of that. But the challenge has been when the need arises for someone to take initiative of what is right, it becomes very difficult. One, because whenever you are doing something in this area, you seem to be losing it because, let's say the society doesn't seem to welcome this kind of ideologies. Like a lot of people have told me, how are you managing? Because everywhere you go to, you seem not to have the right, response. People are not ready because they feel this thing you are saying is not in Nigeria. And I wonder, why is it not in Nigeria? Is it that Nigeria is another country that right things doesn't go well?
What do you mean by, they don't seem to be responding? What is the message that you are giving them?
Yeah, the message I'm giving them is attitudinal change. Attitude change. We could all see the way we see Nigeria today. Just like I said earlier, that a country you do not believe in, there's no way you can love that country or serve the country. And a lot of us, because we do not truly believe, that any Nigerian, I'm not saying that we believe that Nigeria can work, but we don't believe that any Nigerian has what it takes to make Nigeria work.
Isn't that contradictory?
No, it's not contradictory. Loving your nation is a different thing. And then believing in people who run the affairs of the nation, for example. You have leaders that, you are expecting that certain things could give in certain ways, and you are not saying them. Over and over the years, this keep happening, and you keep imagining, when can we get a person or a people or leaders who will be able to do the needful? And if you're not seeing it over the years, you soon lose hope, as though there's no Nigerian who can do that. Because that's what is going on all over the place. People said there's no Nigerian. In Nigeria, you cannot, I remember one place I went for an event, and after talking to the young people, they said, this thing you are telling us about is good. But if you are giving 100 million today, you will drop this message and you eat your money. That is it. But
what did you tell them?
Well, at that point, I don't want to defend myself because nobody seems to believe Nigerians. And I said, well, if what I'm doing, I have taken all these years, I just told you about 13 years, I started this journey. I've been on this for 13 years, and I have not gone the other way. I've had opportunities, even during politics and all of that. People have asked me, how can we do this? How can we use your book to win an election? And I said, my book is not for winning an election. My book is to change Nigeria. So if you believe in the change, in the positive change that we're talking about in the book, then you can spread it. You don't need to use the book to win election. It's about Nigeria. I talk about Nigeria. I don't talk about political party, and I don't talk about people. I talk about the nation. If you love the nation and you truly want to do something for the nation, then you tell the people what you want to do for the nation. So what I'm trying to bring out from this is that people do not believe, like they tell you, no Nigerian will see money and do the right, and not take money rather than do the right thing.
What makes you believe, though? Why do you believe very strongly that in spite of all that you see, in spite of all that is around us, that, that says it's not possible, why do you believe?
Why I believe is that it could take one man to change a nation. And I'm not just believing it. I've been living this life over so many years.
Tell us how that is. I mean, what do you do?
Okay. Like I said, I was a banker. I left the banking industry before I started doing what I'm doing. I actually left the banking industry because I wanted to focus on this. It came to me as a vision, something I feel very strong about, that I could do something. And then it started. So between those period and now, there are opportunities I've seen, in form of contracts, in form of maybe you do this and we get that. As far as I know, that is not in line, because one of the things I did, immediately I started, I put it down in a book so that that book will become a check for me. If you've written something and you now go to do the opposite, people are going to draw your attention to it. So that's what I did first, to write it down and make it a public document so that people can see, people can actually ask me, you said this in your book and now you are doing this. And that has really helped me, to narrow my steps and then avoid anything that is contradicting, with the new Nigeria and the old Nigeria. Because the old Nigeria, I call it the old Nigeria because it's a foundation that has been laid over the years for us, and we've come to believe. We've come to believe in ethnicity more than our nationality. We've come to believe in our religion more than our nationality. And these are playing out every day in every single thing we do towards Nigeria.
So what I'm looking for is practical examples of the things that perhaps an average Nigerian will do, which you think needs to change. So, I mean, because I'm looking at even just the everyday. For instance, you want to get a driver's license, and how it might be a little tedious, and you might decide, look, I'm just going to do it the Nigerian way. Or you want to get, I'm trying to look for examples now. They say, they simply say, don't use your phone and drive. Sometimes you'll find if there's nobody looking, you use your phone while you're driving and things of the sort. There are many instances. Yeah. And I don't know if that's a completely Nigerian behavior. Yeah,
it's part of it, because everything has to do with conscience. Your conscience, your belief system. Yeah. And we've come to believe, most people have come to believe in Nigeria that anything can happen in Nigeria, depending on who you are. Yeah. And based on that, people tend to do whatever they like. And because if you have, some people either in the office that can help you, or you are related to an officer or someone who can ensure you don't run into trouble, or they can avoid these legal actions, if taken against you, can be avoided in a way, then people go out to do whatever they want to do, irrespective of whether it's right or wrong. In one day, I've accosted an officer, on the road, because the lights had, asked him to stop, but he didn't stop. And he kept going, and we came at the point where I had to talk to him. I said, you are an officer, why are you doing this? Other people are coming behind us, and you could see what you are doing is not right. And these are some of the things we do to caution ourselves. If I respect Nigeria, I should respect the Constitution of Nigeria. I should respect the laws, that they have set down, common laws, respect for one another, love one another, believe in ourselves, and think about the nation and how we can move it forward. A whole lot goes on. You know, if we want to look at it from different angles, you look at the elections and the political parties, the thuggery, the way people fight and kill each other, then you begin to wonder, what are they really fighting for? Are they fighting for Nigeria, or they're fighting for their personal interests? Because if it's about Nigeria, then we should all be able to look at what will make Nigeria work, rather than, you know, our individual differences.
I know that you go to, you speak at the National Service Youth Camps.
Yes.
I can see that documented on your website, newnigeria.com. How has the message been? Because some people think that at that stage, it's a lost case, or it's a lost cause. They think, you know, preaching such a message, by that time a lot of people are already formed, and we should be catching them far much younger, you know, to preach this sort of message.
Yeah, sure, that has been, you know, it has always been what people say. But what I keep asking is that who will bridge the gap? If you want to talk to the younger generation, a generation should also talk to them. And what are this generation made of? You understand? Because you can't give what you don't have. We keep saying, let's look at the younger generation, the small people at the, you know, maybe primary school, secondary school. Yeah, it's good. But we also have teachers who take these people. They are Nigerians with the same mentality. So what are we going to achieve from there? So like, you know, you asked when we started, you know, who is my message meant for? It's for all Nigerians, all Nigerians. But we take it one at a time. I believe that my generation should be the ones who now prepare a new generation. Because most times you see a lot of us have become victims of what our environment has made us to be. You know, but a few who are willing should be able to, we know what is right, between what is right and what is wrong. We should be able to do something more positive. Come up, because it's, you know, today some people do ask, where do you get your information? By the time you go through the book, I didn't really make reference so much in the book because I looked at the issues. What is happening in America, what is happening in Europe, there are common things you can lay your hands on now. So you cannot tell me you don't know how to build a nation. Some people have done it. If you do some research, you could be able to know, okay, this is what happens. We're not saying that what is going on in other nations is exactly what we're going to adopt in Nigeria. But from what people have done, you could draw some experience from there and look at how it can help our country.
So how would you say, some people will say it's very important that this also resonates with the leadership of our country. I mean, they steer the ship. They are able to inspire the people for good or for bad. Would you say that you have seen anywhere where your message has resonated with the leadership?
Well, yeah, to a large extent. You know, what I did when this latest edition of the book came out was to spread it around. I took it to all the ministries. I sent free copies to all the ministries. And to the various leadership. I've done all that at the state level. Most people did not respond. I believe some people did not even read the book. You know, but one outstanding minister that did something was the education minister, who called my attention, and we had a meeting. After meeting with them, where I was asked to go to NERDC, Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, who are in charge of developing curriculum for secondary school. So I also met with the executive secretary, whom, after reading the book, said there's something about this, that he's interested in it. But that the book did not follow the curriculum. It's something they would have loved to bring into the school system. And now requested me to do something for the younger generation, you know, using the format of the New Nigeria book. So under 2 years, I was able to come up with civic education for SS1, SS2, and SS3, which also they have gone through and are approved to go into the system. Though it's gradually, those ones are gradually building up. I think that's the only, okay, yeah, we also went to a National Orientation Agency. You know, we discussed with them. They said the book is okay. But, you know, the Nigerian situation has always been, there's no money to do anything. And as an individual, there's little you could do. We've brought these ideas and we said, we want to work. We want to see how we can, you know, make input to see how this can begin to make impact in our nation. But when it's not forthcoming, we relied on the little things we could do, meeting people in schools and individuals. Sometimes they also give us platforms in the civil service, some of the ministries and institutions. So we're still working with them up till now.
Would you say that there's any place you have seen growth or fruit from the message you have been preaching?
Yeah, to a large extent I've seen, especially, on individuals, Nigerians, who once in a while will call me. Yeah, I remember one copper having gone to the orientation camp after meeting with them, and then there's no truly a follow-up programs for them, because all these things entails resources. But after talking with them, a month later he called me. He said, "Why did you set this fire in us and then left us like this? What do we do next?" Because really I know we need to do more. But you can't just go on the road. These things are not peanuts. You need resources to be able to drive processes like this.
What exactly are you asking Nigerians to do in your book?
What I'm asking them to do is to learn attitude that will support nation building. Because there are certain attitudes that we've seen over the years, just like we talked about, ethnicity. People believing, that I am first, from this region before I'm a Nigerian. And with that, there's already a disunity. If you go to the Constitution of Nigeria, the preamble, it states that we, the people, have agreed, to be united and to be under a nation, to work out a nation that is capable of providing for all of us. So the disunity we are seeing in the country has already contradicted that fact. And for us to be able to get back on track, we really need to get back to the basis. So these are the things we are talking about. I'm talking based on what is available before us. We have our constitutions. The little things that we can do, they are simple things.
I don't know if you have seen politicians talk about the Constitution, maybe not just even politicians, even lawyers, who will tell you our Constitution, the first few lines is a lie. Why did we, the people, agree on that? And all of that has dovetailed into the bigger discussion of restructuring. Because some people think one of the reasons why we're like this as a country is because of how we're not an organic country. We have not grown from the basis. And as such, it seems that a country has been imposed on us. And, it will be very difficult to grow a country from top down as opposed to bottom up.
Yes.
As an individual, as a Nigerian, who's not a politician, who's just, observing the country, do you agree with all of this, postulations?
No, I slightly agree with them.
Predicament?
Yes. I can actually agree, slightly in the sense that, yes, we didn't get it right. But what stops us from getting it right now? Why are we using that as, as a basis for our problems? Is it that we've not grown over these years? Since 1960 up till now, we've not grown. We've not had a people who is, okay, this is what to do. We keep playing politics with this, and we have many reasons why we want things to remain the way they are. Because if we truly want a change, we should be able to stand and agree that this is what to do. We can't keep saying the same thing over and over. The Constitution is not okay. Then what are we doing about it? Someone has to do something about it.
And I was going to ask you if there have been times when you felt really low, where you felt, this is my message, Seth. Which day will I begin to see the fruit? Are there times that, will I say, activities or events and happenings depressed you as a Nigerian?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. A lot of times I'm faced with that, challenge of looking at what I believe in and what I'm saying. Because there are two apart from each other. And especially, during the elections, because I'm burdened about leadership. It takes leadership to do a whole lot of what we're talking about. And if the process of selecting leadership is this way, then I feel so bad that we are not really getting it right. Because people are the situation is getting worse by the day. It's, as I know, You know, like sometimes I look at it, I said, okay, why is it so? Why is it that in our country we can't have a rethink? When we do things, we still go back home and sleep. Do we really think about what we have done during this period and how it affects the nation and other people around us? And if it means something has really gone bad, and that has to do with conscience. Our conscience seems to have been severed by a lot of things. I don't know what, but whatever it is, I believe it's high time we sit back, because the nation has really gone so bad that people are complaining. If it's not affecting you directly, there are people around you that these whole issues are affecting. You know, it's high time we get to that point where we must take a decision that we can't continue this way. I think that is where we have to get to. And to get to that point, people need to know, okay, what do we now do next? Because that's been the issue. If there is if there is a direction, an alternative direction that people can point to, you understand, it will go a long way. And that's why I expect that National Orientation Agency should come out to do more if truly the leadership, they are ready for this. Because they have to provide what is the change we are talking about. What is it all about?
I was just going to bring you to that because,
yeah.
you know, we can't talk about all of this in a vacuum. You have just acknowledged the role that leadership must play. You have acknowledged the fact that you feel somewhat depressed when the election season is around with all the shenanigans we see. I want to ask you, because a lot of Nigerians will tell you that they did feel that enough was enough in 2015. It was one of the reasons why they felt a change of leadership was necessary, or a change of leadership might bring the desired change that they hoped to see. And interestingly, the mantra for the political party which eventually won was change. They knew that Nigerians were yearning for a change, and they kept on saying it over and over again, change, change, change. And they won. They were elected into office. However, you know, whether or not Nigerians have been able to get that change is another kettle of fish. How have you been able to, I don't want to say stay above the fray, but how would you say, as a Nigerian, you have gone through the tide
Yes.
of, you know, of politicians talking about change and perhaps delivering short of it? Or maybe in some, I don't know if there's been any instances where you thought they delivered more, but can you tell us how you have taken all of this and not felt, will I say, disappointed or depressed about, you know, the circumstances around you?
Yeah, to a large extent, I'm somehow disappointed, but I'm never depressed. You know, because when you look at it, the failure we're seeing today didn't start today. From the beginning. If you ask me, I will tell you that 30 years ago was better than 20 years in Nigeria. 10 years was better, 20 years was better than 10 years, the last 10 years. And 5 years ago was better than today. So it's been like, a deterioration. Things have been going worse. And why is it so? We have a foundation where people can emerge as leaders based on nothing concrete other than ethnicity or religion. And that, to me, is a very big blow on a people that are so intelligent. Because we have intelligent Nigerians. We have people who have what it takes to really analyze and come up with solutions. But unfortunately, when it comes to choosing leadership, it happens that it's the other way around. It's not longer about what one can do, but about religion. And we so drum this over and over. About
religion and ethnicity.
Ethnicity.
And for you, that has been
that's
one of the most
major,
disappointing threads you have seen.
Yes.
I think it's very important to make that point, because there will be Nigerians who will say, no, I don't agree with you that things have gotten worse, that maybe in some aspects things are getting better.
What are the aspects? Let's look at it. Is it the education sector or the power sector? What has changed? The same thing, I hear during the Nnamdi Azikiwe campaign at that time, in those olden days, it's the same thing we are still hearing. At least in that time in my village, there was pipe-borne water. And after that, I'm not sure there was any time, even a borehole you don't have in my village. So what we're talking about is that, sometimes people keep saying that other nations, it took them 400 years and all of that. We've gone past those ages. Today, knowledge is available to everyone who seek it. If we truly want this, all we need to do is to discountenance our personal interests. Personal interest has always been the issue. That I'm in a particular political party today is because of my personal interest. Nigeria is never considered. So these are the major, for me, this is a major thing. We need to get to that point of believing in Nigeria and trying to have a reason to love Nigeria, to be able to defend Nigeria. Because when we are in any transaction and the interest of Nigeria is not in play, then we've lost it.
Are there moments, though, that inspire you? Are there moments that have given you great hope that all is not lost?
Yes. Each time I speak to the ordinary Nigerian, they believe that one day, even though they don't know how it's going to go about. In our country, we believe so much in faith, maybe because of our religion. There's this belief, even from nothing. Until lately, when a lot of people were saying, I don't think anything is going to give. But for me, looking at the people, Nigerians who are, irrespective of what is going on, they are still very happy. Go around during this Christmas and see what is going on. You won't believe that some people don't have food to eat, yet they are still happy. You understand? So Nigeria, there are people who are full of expectation. Because if it's other countries with what is going on, a lot would have happened. But the people still believe. That is the assurance I have, that irrespective of what, at least when it gets to that point where people will say, no, I don't think Nigeria will be one, a lot of people are saying, no, we still want to be, except from a few. And those few, if you ask them, it's about self-interest. Well, what I keep asking is that if you say, okay, because you are from a particular part of the country and things are not working, where are things working? Which region can you say that things are really working? And then you can feel, the Nigerian you want to see in a particular region, either in the south or in the west or in the east. So if it is not so, whether you call it that you want to do restructuring, of what mindset are we using to restructure? Is it truly about Nigeria, the way forward, or about what I feel that if they restructure now, maybe I will get some job in my region? That is why you are looking at restructure. Because for me, what we need to do is to realign our mind, realign our conscience back to that singular, important aspect of our nation. To truly believe, you see, if you don't believe anything, you cannot achieve it. To truly believe that this is a country and it could work if I do A to Z. So why can't I do that A to Z? Because I've not seen any time something positive is done in Nigeria and it refused to be okay.
Let's go to Lagos and take a question from my colleague, Ayo.
Mr. Uwani, it's interesting, the conversations that we have been having, and we've talked largely about leaders, the leadership, those who are driving, the leadership process, driving where the nation is going and all of that. But there's this message that came in as you were talking from on our Twitter handle. Zimo says, we'll never get it right in this country until we change our orientation as a people. And I think you also mentioned that. The problem is not with those people up there, but with the source, the home. And he goes on to say the bad leaders and the bad followers come from the home. And I know that in your book and in some of your, especially on your website, you've also talked about the need for us to change orientation. So now I ask you, what do the people have to do? What's the role of the people? Because ultimately, no matter what we say about the leaders and all of that, if we do not, hone a place for the people to take ownership of their nation, how do we go about that? So what do the people, the followers, have to do to lead their leaders from behind?
Well, that's quite an interesting question. Looking at it, yes, the followers has a lot to do. There's a lot of citizenship responsibility, that they have to carry out on daily basis. But for looking at it and just opposing it with the leadership challenges that we have, you see, you can't take away leadership from the ordinary citizen. Before one became a leader, he was once a common person on the street, And I keep saying that is what you have or who you are, even as a citizen, is what you bring into leadership. And again, we must also understand that it takes leaders to give directive. It takes leaders to create a path that others will follow. That's why it's called leadership. You are not leading because there is nobody. You must show example. Because I can tell you today that what Nigerians have become today are the examples of what leadership has given to them over the years. Today, an average Nigerian look up to their leader, and what they ask them to do is what they do. Usually because the whole bulk of resources are in the hands of the leaders. And because they look up to these leaders for their daily bread, whatever they ask them to do is what they do. So that's why leadership has become very crucial. But like I said, my focus is how do we begin to raise people with a decent mentality that as they grow into leadership, they will not begin to exemplify those good attributes that will be able to bring about the change we desire.
Mr. Uwani, one more thing, a quick follow-up to that question. You said, and many people believe that as well, that it's all about leadership. Granted, but we have had successive leadership over the years in Nigeria. We've had civil leadership, we've had military leadership, we've even had interim leadership at various points in our history as a nation. So these people come, do their bit and leave. Come, do their bit and leave. There is no national ethos to follow, which is why I'm asking. Because if the followers have a united front, there is a national ethos, everyone would go in that direction whenever they come into leadership. That's why I'm saying that perhaps there is a need, from what you also said about the national orientation agenda, which I think you also made allusion to in your publications, that national orientation agenda that will give people a focus, a direction. So, again, I ask you, yes, it's about leadership, but what should the people be doing right now? You've talked about the impact of leadership, of poverty, that people go wherever the money is and all of that. But there has to be something the followers can do now while the leaders are the way they are.
Okay, yeah, like I said, to a large extent, I also believe that a lot of people are doing so many things. Like today, I have the privilege of being here today. And that is why people could say, okay, this is what this guy does. A lot of Nigerians are doing one thing or the other. But, I believe we should do more, much more. But unfortunately, really, everything revolves around government and the public sector. Whatever they want to drive, they do it because the resources are there. But like I said, we Nigerians, that's why I also went further to put this, my thoughts in a book, because it's not everybody I could reach. But I believe that as we keep, disseminating the message and people are getting to understand what it is, it's a gradual process, like I said. But like we could do much more. We are trying our best, the little we could, because we are just a few people who are driving this process, and to a large extent, we are meeting people, and people are agreeing, yeah, this can work, but talk to the leaders. An average Nigerian will tell you that it's not me, it's about the leaders. But for me, I also believe that why the leadership of today, they are doing what they are doing at their own pace, we, the people, especially the non-governmental organizations, they should be able to come up, to join hand, to really make this information available to people that today I'm just a common citizen, but tomorrow leadership can fall on my shoulders. And if I'm not prepared for it, then definitely I may not be able to get things right. So the leadership we're talking about starts with me now.
Well,
what
Mr.
I'm
Uwani,
doing now, how I see Nigeria.
If I could ask you, if I could just jump in and ask you, I mean, people have come up with different development principles and strategies that they think will work, but from your interaction with people, maybe taking your message of a new Nigeria being possible from person to person, what would you subscribe? Or do you think that it should be a bottom-up approach or top-to-bottom approach? Which principle do you think that will, if we apply, will at least jumpstart some of these things you want to see towards a new Nigeria?
Sincerely, I believe it's a bottom-top approach, because leadership is never, or leaders don't stay there forever. They come and go, but it's about the people, the caliber of people who eventually emerge as leaders. So what our approach is to begin to identify young people and to truly tell them the truth about the fact that Nigeria ought to be better than it is if people had done what is right. And then begin to tell them how to see beyond, what they know or what has been existing. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to see people becoming better than the environment they found themselves. But as we grow and find new knowledge, it becomes easier for us to live, where we were to a better option. And I think that is where to go. We're trying to bring this new knowledge. We're asking people to key into it, understand what is it. If you don't know, you ask questions. And if there are ways where you can get some of this one, like some of the things you said you saw in the website, it's out there, it's free. People can go there to look at what is in, what we've said about Nigeria and learn, then ask questions. And part of the things we're also doing is that we're trying to groom young people for leadership, prepare them for leadership, to see Nigeria from now and to know that there are changes that are required to be made. So even as they aspire for leadership, they should be able to have definite roles, what they want to do, to be able to bring about the change we hope to see.
One of the articles, one of the ways some people have suggested that we do this, since you suggest a bottom-up approach about the people having a huge role and responsibility in the scheme of things developing the country, is knowledge, teaching them certain things. You, in one of the articles on your site, say you believe that it's time that the youth know the truth about Nigeria. That's talking about history, if that's what you mean. But, there are those who also have this fear that when they know certain things that it may or may not work out well, and so they are cautious about some of those things. Why do you think, or why did you say you believe it is necessary for us to go that route?
Well, always at any given time, truth is always what prevails, and truth is what heals. If you've made a mistake in the past and then you are able to tell someone, truly, I made a mistake, but now I want to change it because I want things to work. If he sees it from the right perspective, he will forgive the past and embrace the new. So why I'm saying that it's important that the youth should know the truth is because they need to know where they are coming from. They need to know the truth that Nigeria belongs to everyone, and that truly, if we come together, because people believe that Nigeria can never be united, that Nigeria is too big and we have different ethnic groups that can never merge to be one. It's an ideology I don't know who sold to us. You understand? So what I'm saying is that if we understand the truth that we can actually get our nation back by being more united, by believing in ourselves, by agreeing to work together, it will go a whole long, it will do us a lot of good to bring about that which we dream to have. Because today, Nigeria is not complete without any of the ethnic groups. We are a whole nation today because we've agreed to be together. And if we really work together in sincerity, that's why I talked about the truth.
Have we really agreed to be together? Or have we been forced together?
Whether we are forced or not. It's just, for example, we came from families, different families that there are fractions in those families and all of that. We get to a point where we think our division is not helping us. We try to come together and say, okay, let us fix it. So the issue is not that whether we get it right or not initially is not my issue. Why is it that we are refusing to do what is right now? Because we are able. Why can't we sit down on a round table and agree? So if it's about personal interest, then we should be able to identify those who are not interested in Nigeria and ensure that they are not given the opportunity. Because we can't keep repeating the same issue over and over again and then expect a different thing.
What sacrifice would you say that your message has cost you? What would you say some of the greatest? Because I imagine that now you left the banking sector, you would have had to figure out another means of making a living, maybe also through, I don't know whether preaching your message helps you also make a living. I mean, at least running costs should be maintained from it. I imagine that if you have a family, if you have wife and children, your wife would have been very skeptical. You might have a partner who will say, who's going to listen to this, your message? How is this going to put food on our table and things of the sort? Aside that, what would you say your greatest sacrifice, of propagating this message? What's the sacrifice you've had to make? The greatest sacrifice it has cost you. Let me put it that way.
That is big. It's cost me a lot. It's cost me a lot because before I started, I'm already married with 2 children.
Yeah.
And
oh, you're married. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
How did your wife take that first?
Well, it's not easy. It's still a battle, but I kept assuring her that we'll surely get there because it's something that has consumed me. I don't think I have any other thing I want to do or want to engage in because I have this conviction, for every nation at any time, God raises a man. And for me, I believe I'm caught up for this Nigerian thing. And I've started doing it because I saw a better knowledge, a better understanding of it. And everybody said it's good, even though it's not putting money in my pocket. But for the fact that it is good and it's the direction to go, then I'll keep at it. And I believe that, because it's not about me.
So how are you making money now? I mean...
I'm not making money, but I'm sure...
At least you certainly must, you cannot shirk your responsibilities as a husband and a father.
I'm trying what I can do based on what I can afford at a time. But what is foremost to me is the fact that if our nation isn't changed, I will leave the scene one day and my children will also face what we're facing today. My children are already, they understand the vision. My daughter, the first one is 13, the boy is 10. They've embraced the vision. They understand what their dad is doing and they are proud of it.
That's a satisfaction for you.
That's a satisfaction for me.
Would you say that the greatest cost has come to you personally more in your family?
It's family, yes.
I don't know. It's a huge sacrifice.
It is.
It is a huge sacrifice. But, they say that there is no pain, no gain. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves whether or not we're really willing
to go all the way.
Yes, to go all the way. For those who used to believe, that a new Nigeria was possible, but so far so good, because they haven't seen it, or it was seen that we change governments is the same story. I'm told I have to ask this question when we come back from this break, but I certainly will not forget it. So please stay tuned, and we'll wrap up the conversation when we come back from this break. Our closing moments now with Mr. Chris Uwani, who is an author and social commentator. His book says, "A New Nigeria is Possible." Yeah, that's the title. Yet, for those who doubt, for those who were former believers, who events have since made them change their mind, for those who are getting ready to ship out of the country, what will be your message to them?
My message to them is very clear, that the future of Nigeria is very, very bright. What has kept Nigeria in the present position has been the fact that we Nigerians have not done enough. So rather than disbelieving, one is that we should believe, because it's our nation. Tomorrow, whether I go to Canada or any other country.
Have you thought about it, though, going to Canada?
No, I had several opportunities, even while I was in the bank. But because Nigeria is there to my heart, always, you know. And then, whatever citizenship we have tomorrow, it's a borrowed identity. Right inside your heart, you know that you are a Nigerian, wherever you are. So that satisfaction can never be there than making it work in Nigeria. So what I want to appeal to us is that what we did not get right, we can make our children to get it right. If today Nigeria has become what it's been because certain things were not done, if we begin to do something better, something right today, in the next 10, 15 years, we begin to see the impact. So all hope is not lost. We can actually do something. We can't start, practicing defeatism, as if we've been defeated when we can do something. We are still a people. We still understand what we could do to make it right. So why not start? At least let us start and see how far we can go.
Well, it's a lovely way to end this conversation.
Thank you.
Enjoyed thoroughly speaking with you. Mr. Chris Uwani is an author of the book, A New Nigeria is Possible. I think it's a fantastic way to reflect on also the message of Christmas. It resonates with the message of Christmas as well. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily.